In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God. Amen. We'll continue today our discussion on this series of blessings. And a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the blessings of obedience, and I told you I wanted to call it Barakat Hadir. This one, we're talking about the blessing of letting go. And this one I wanted to call Barakat Fawwit. And I think in Arabic we can understand the Barakat Fawwit, like the blessing of just letting go. So you see here in Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18, we read, "You shall not take vengeance nor bear any grudge against the children of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord." So we are getting this instruction all the way from the book of Leviticus. Don't take vengeance. Don't carry a grudge. Don't carry around hard feelings. Don't sit and stew and fume in your anger and in your displeasure. Don't hold a grudge. Don't plan your revenge. Don't give people the silent treatment and the cold shoulder. Don't be difficult when somebody faults you. Just let it go. Fawwit. Just let it go. We'll find peace when we just let things go. It's not worth hanging on to. And we'll talk about three blessings: the blessing of deliberation and reputation, the blessing of God's plan and self-reflection, and the blessings of peace and grace. So we take an example here. We'll have a couple examples from the life of King David. King David, we know the story when he went to Nabal. Nabal was one of the people who had many shepherds, and King David, before he was the king, when he was still fleeing from Saul, he had his men protect the shepherds and the flocks of this man Nabal. And it was the time for shearing, so it's like when he was collecting the fruit of the labor and the effort of his shepherds. And so David said, "Okay, we've been like protecting this man's flocks for so long. Let's go and participate in the joyful occasion of the shearing of the sheep." So he sent his people, and Nabal treated them poorly. He sent them away. He insulted David, and the men went back to David and said, "This is what happened." And David at this moment was so angry. He was so fuming, and he committed to himself, like, "I'm going to go to Nabal's house now." He got up, he girded himself, he took his men, he said, "I'm going to Nabal's house now, and in the morning there's not going to be a single man left alive in his household." So he was going to go finish off the man's entire household. So the servants of Nabal heard about this situation. They saw the interaction. So they went to Abigail, who's one of the very wise women in the Old Testament. She said, "Look, your husband did such and such and such, and the end is not going to be good for the household." So she prepared a bunch of things and sent them over to David, and she went and she talked to him to try and kind of calm him down. And we read among the things that she said, "And it shall come to pass, when the Lord has done for my Lord according to all the good that he has spoken concerning you, and has appointed you ruler over Israel, that this will be no grief to you, nor offense of heart to my Lord, either that you have shed blood without cause, or that my Lord has avenged himself. But when the Lord has dealt with my Lord, then remember your maidservant." So she talked to him and she said, "It's not befitting for you. One day you're going to be the king. And you don't want the blood of this man and his household on your hands." David reacted promptly. We learn this concept of respond, don't react. Respond, don't react. A response is something pre-planned. When ABC happens, I have my response ready. So I've thought my course of action through with a cool head. Reacting is reacting in the heat of the moment. When things are still hot, when I'm still like in the midst of the anger, I react. This is what David was doing. He was reacting. He was offended, and he was going in his offense to avenge himself, to get what he felt he deserved. Abigail came and calmed him down. Just let it go for a minute. Step back and think with a clear head. Don't think when you're in the midst of your anger, in the midst of the heat of the moment. Don't take a rash decision. So give yourself time to consider your reaction, cool down, and respond rather than reacting. And consider the effect on your reputation. What Abigail, among the things she told David is, you don't want to have a reputation for being a hot-headed, rash king who acts without thinking, and then he has the blood of people on his hands. Consider the impact on your reputation. Now, a lot of times, for example, I can remember before ordination, when I would get a work email and it might strike a nerve. And so, my tendency was to, immediately, I hit reply, and if I was really mad, I would hit reply all, and then I'd start slamming out this email. I'd get really angry, and I'd slam out this email. And then I learned something. I said, okay, I'm going to hit reply, and I'm going to slam out the email, but first, I'm going to delete the name, the email address that it's going to be replying to. So I bang out the angry email, but if I, in my heat, I go to hit send, it's going to tell me you have to send it to somebody. You can't send it to nobody, right? So I hit reply, I delete the person that I was going to send it to, and then I bang out my angry email. Why? It got the emotion out. And then I just put it in my draft. And then I would go talk to somebody with a cooler head, right? Or maybe I'd read the email after with a cooler head myself. I say, no, this sounds a little bit too harsh. Let me tone it down a little bit. I calm things down, but then I still wouldn't send it. I go, if I was really frustrated, I'd go and talk to somebody. And I'd talk to them and say, this is what I'm thinking. I wrote a really angry email, but I calmed it down. And so this is what I'm going to send. Can you just listen to it and see, does this sound too harsh? And they would listen to this. You can't send that. You can't send that to anybody. And that was after I calmed down. You have to calm things down. You have to cool down. So this barakat fawwit, okay, the blessing of just letting go, it gives you time to cool things down. At least let things go until you can calm down. Don't react and respond in the heat of the moment with the heat of the emotion. Because then also, once you've cooled down, maybe you look back at things in a different light. And you might say, you know what? Thank God that I didn't act on my first impulse when I reacted, because it would not have ended well, and I would have this reputation for being too rash and too harsh. Another blessing is to see God's plan and to give us an opportunity for self-reflection. Later in the life of King David, when he became the king, and there was a rebellion, his son Absalom rebelled against him and was planning to take over the kingdom. And so David fled with the people of his household from Jerusalem. He was running from Jerusalem, fleeing for his life. And at the time, there's this man, Shimei, the son of Gera. He was one of the relatives of Saul, who was the king before David. And as we know, during his life, David extended the utmost respect to Saul. He never stretched out his hand against Saul, even when he had the opportunity to do so. And even when Saul's son was, for a brief time, sitting on the throne of Israel and he was assassinated, David said, it's not right for you to kill the son of Saul. And he put to death the people that assassinated the descendants of Saul. But Shimei, the son of Carmi, the son of Gera, when he saw David fleeing, we read, also Shimei said, thus first, come out, you bloodthirsty man, you rogue. The Lord has brought upon you all the blood of the house of Saul, in whose place you have reigned, and the Lord has delivered the kingdom into the hand of Absalom your son. So now you are caught in your own evil, because you are a bloodthirsty man. And he continued like this. And the general of King David said, do you want me to go and remove this man's head, separate his head from his body? And David now, after a long experience in life, before we saw David, he was hot-headed and he wanted to react promptly. Here, after an experience in life, what did he say? The king said, What have I to do with you, the sons of Zeruiah? So let him curse, because the Lord had said to him, curse David. Who then shall say, why have you done so? So David, maybe he was humbled because he was running from his son. Maybe he was a little despondent, but he didn't react harshly and worry about his honor and how can you say this about me? Don't you know that I'm still the king and I'm going to prevail? And he did even his general, he had armed men with him, and he could have just sent them out and and it wouldn't have been coming from him. He could have just turned a deaf ear and let them do what they wanted. But he said, what do I have to do with you? And look at his words. Perhaps the Lord said to him, curse David. Who then shall say, why have you done so? So when we're in this moment, when we want to respond harshly, just let it go for a minute. Fawwid. Maybe God is trying to teach you a message. Maybe there's a lesson for you to be learned. Maybe we need to take some time for self-reflection. Maybe God is using the person that I'm reacting so harshly against to bring my attention, to draw my attention to something, to one of my blind spots. Maybe He's pointing out that I have a trigger or a button that I need to work on, that I need to calm myself down and reflect on myself a little bit and examine myself a little bit to see that there's something in me that needs to be corrected. So take a step back, calm down, let things cool down, let it go, and reflect and see maybe God has a plan for this moment. Rather than trying to avenge yourself or worry about your honor or react in the moment, just step back and consider, does God have a message that I should learn, and use it as an opportunity for self-reflection. Then finally, we talk about the idea of peace and grace. And we have a couple of messages from the book of Proverbs of Solomon the Wise, in which he says, it is better to dwell in a corner of a housetop than in a house shared with a contentious woman. It is better to live in the corner of a housetop than in a house shared with a contentious woman. And maybe we experience this, like many men have this tendency to do what? Like to just escape and go to their cave in some corner of the house where nobody can find them. And I'm going to hide until things like blow over because I don't want to get into an argument. I don't want to get into a fight, right? So let me avoid the whole situation. I'd rather stay in some like hot corner of the garage doing some whatever rather than face the confrontation, because these arguments never end well. But it's not just here, like for the men and the women. We read later in Proverbs, as charcoal is to burning coals and wood to fire, so is a contentious man to kindle strife. Contentious people, those that are always stirring the flames, trying to like react to every little thing, everything that said, no, I have to, like, what do you mean by that? And they're kind of picking a fight and stirring up trouble and causing difficulty, and they have to react to every single thing that's said. This contention causes so much discord in the home and in society and in every stage. These like arguments and fights cause so much difficulty that it stirs up like the lack of peace among people, and everybody just wants to escape from the situation and just find peace by avoiding the contentious person who won't just let things go and give things time to cool down, but they always have to turn everything into a contention and into a fight. On the other hand, we read in 1 Peter, and above all things, have fervent love for one another, for love will cover a multitude of sins. So, when we love our brethren, rather than taking everything as an offense, having to justify ourselves, prove that I'm right, ask this like, what did you mean by that? And turn everything into a contention, into a fight, into an argument. If I have love, I'll just let things go. I'll let things slide a little bit and let things calm down. I'll give the person the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they need some time to cool down. And we address things when things are calm, when things are cool, rather than turning into a fight. So then we find that there's going to be peace between us and our brethren, and we extend grace to one another, just like we want grace, right? Maybe we make a mistake and react to something too promptly. We don't want the people around us to like hold this against us. So if we find that our brother is reacting a little bit promptly, give them a little bit of grace, let it go, give them time to cool down. If we need to address the situation, respond when things are calm. Don't react when things are hot. To those of us that are married, and maybe those that are planning to be married, there's a piece of advice that I heard at some point, and I don't remember from what source, but it's a good piece of advice. Is during engagement, keep your eyes wide open. After you get married, close them a little bit. Okay? When you're engaged, you're getting to know the person. You have a way to get out of this situation if you find out that there's something in the other person that you can't live with. Engagement is the time to figure that out. So keep your eyes wide open. Don't think that things are going to change. Keep your eyes wide open and look for everything. Is this going to be a problem in the future? Is this something I can live with or not? Is this going to cause contention? After you get married, close your eyes a little bit. Don't look for every little thing that's going to make you upset or frustrated, but just let things go. There's no way out. Okay? If every little thing is going to bother you, if every little thing is going to be a problem, if every little thing is going to be an argument, you're going to be so tense and there's going to be contentions in the house the whole time. After you're married, close your eyes a little bit, give the other person the benefit of the doubt, let it go. بعد الجواز فوت كتير بعد الجواز. Okay? After marriage, let a lot of things go to maintain the peace in the household. And I speak to myself before I speak to anybody else. So to recap, my brethren, first, the blessings of letting go gives us an opportunity to take a breath, think, deliberate, not to overreact. And then we ask ourselves, is God trying to teach me a lesson here? Is there something that I need to learn? Is there something that I need to correct in myself? Is somebody pushing my button? Is there something that's triggering me? Maybe I need to work on my trigger. Maybe I need to work on my button. And then we seek to maintain peace in the household and in all of our relationships with people through love. So we try to just let the little things slide, let the little things go. Don't hang up on every little thing, but let the little things slide and then respond with calm heads if there's actually something that needs to be responded to. May God give us all the opportunity to take the blessing of letting things go, and glory be to our God forever.
Blessed are they